Ladies and gentlemen, people are going to say, well, why are you giving your thoughts on this topic? You're not part of the left anymore. You're not a progressive. You never were. And you're supporting President Trump. Yeah, that's right. I support a president who backs up, who defends his supporters, who actually gives people who vote for him policies that they want, like reversing never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts and opposing regime changes. If you're on the left or a Democrat, you voted alongside the Lincoln Project people. Congratulations, who ran on a marriage amendment and also pushed for Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld's never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts that ruin the lives of millions. So you have no moral basis to judge anyone, but of course you will. Anyway, President Trump has been a fantastic president. Leave that aside for a second. Signing the First Step Act, allocating more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever, making that funding permanent. Also absolving $300 million in loans, which is fantastic. The funding should have even been greater than $255 million, and making it permanent. Being the first president to step foot in North Korea, signing prison reform legislation. We can go on. He's a great president. Okay, record low black and Latino unemployment, record low unemployment. He didn't... The lockdowns are fueled by which political party? Anyway, I want to give my thoughts on the Medicare for All debate or issue, because I think it's wonderful that there's an ideological discussion on the left. I'm not on the left, so my name is like either an embarrassment or like an insult, which is hilarious and an honor for me. So I'm very happy. When somebody mentions my name on the left, it's like either in an insulting manner or sometimes in a as a compliment, very rarely, but generally as a source of embarrassment, which is hilarious. But anyway, Democrats will never in a million years pass Medicare for All. It's the biggest grift of all time. You are being played. It's not a policy it's a Green Party policy. It's not a Democratic Party policy. The people who are fighting for it or pushing for it are noble, idealistic, good, wonderful people, no matter where they are on the debate spectrum. So they're good people. I'm not going to mention any names, but everyone is a good human being, good person on that debate. Okay? Democrats they got Biden in by specifically stating categorically that they would veto Medicare for All. It is not even within the realm of possibility for Democrats to ever pass a Medicare for All bill. I say this, by the way, not with malice. I have family in Europe, and you know what? About 15 years ago, one of my uncles told me he had open heart surgery, and he said it would cost like $200, something like that. It might not be feasible in this country because we have 320 million Americans. We're the third most populous country in the world. Leaving that aside, maybe it's feasible and all of that, fine. If it's feasible, and it would save lives, the fact that Democrats don't give a you-know-what about passing it should tell you something. People like AOC, and people who who have gained a great deal of fame and fortune and political power from holding that carrot in front of millions of Americans who are idealistic, progressives or left-leaning people, they're the biggest grifters of all time. That word's been used against me, but I'm not a grifter. I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post, the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. My articles in the Hill, Salon, the Huffington Post went viral. Okay, I got hit pieces against me. If you're not getting a hit piece against you by the Daily Beast, okay, you're not doing it right on the left. I got hit pieces by Raw Story, all of them. Okay, I was too far left, or I was too representing for Bernie Sanders. The problem was Bernie Sanders doesn't represent for his voters, and he is now part of the Lincoln Project, Democratic Party apparatus, intelligence operative apparatus. That's a whole other story. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was forced to resign in disgrace for cheating Bernie Sanders. He did nothing. He just accepted it, and he eventually pushed and helped. He got cheated again in 2020. You know that if you're on the left. This segment is actually geared towards left-leaning viewers, that maybe a small percentage that I still have, or anyone's watching. But Medicare for All is a fantasy that Democrats sell. It is a dream that they deliberately try to promote in order to get votes. The biggest fear of the Democratic Party is not that you would have people not vote Democrat, because they don't care. Like, they already cheated Bernie Sanders. It's that people would go to the Green Party. It's not about not voting so much for Pelosi, although that would be a good thing to actually pressure the Democratic Party. God forbid you would actually pressure a political party that has stated it will eventually pass these bills for its supporters. But the biggest fear of the Democratic Party is that voters will go to the Green Party, or perhaps start their own political party. And notice this year, isn't that interesting, how you had the Libertarian Party taking votes from Trump, but you didn't have the Green Party taking votes from Democrats. Gee, how does that work? Oh, that's right, because they work with Russia, and they've been marginalized and silenced. Everybody that they don't like works with Russia, from Tulsi Gabbard to Bernie Sanders before he sold his soul, to President Trump, everybody. The Green Party is what Democrats really fear. I'm a Trump supporter. Very proud. Very happy. He's not racist. He never said both sides. That is a lie. One of the many lies that Democrats say. Go to the C-SPAN, actual C-SPAN transcript. He says, and I am not talking about the 1930s and 1940s Germans, okay? But they pushed, and this is the most important part. If you watch this, or if you remember me from 2015, I'm long-winded and I go on forever. They passed a Green New Deal resolution that they knew would never pass Congress as a bill. It was a marketing stunt. It was a resolution with no teeth, and a resolution is just simply like a public relations stunt. It means nothing. It's non-binding, and they didn't even vote for it in the Senate. In fact, some Democrats voted against the Green New Deal resolution in the Senate. Mitch McConnell clowned the Democratic Party and progressives and the left by forcing a vote in the Senate. They were so embarrassed of their own resolution, they either didn't show up or voted, or didn't vote at all, or voted against the Green New Deal resolution. And they were actually upset at McConnell for having the audacity to actually force a vote on what they say will save the planet. They're the biggest liars and deceitful grifters of all time. But see, the left, their biggest fear in their lives, the people on the left, the biggest fear they have is being called a Trump supporter. So that's another story. Then they impeached President Trump, so that passed the House also. Okay. So the notion that, and they impeached Trump knowing that he would not be kicked out of office, knowing that the Senate would acquit President Trump. So the notion, the lie, the absolute deceitful nonsense that they don't want to vote on Medicare for all because they won't pass the Senate because they're Republicans, that's nonsense. They already voted on a Green New Deal resolution, and they voted on impeachment, and they knew the Senate would acquit President Trump. Rightfully so. They impeached a president on an ellipsis, okay? In a transcript where even President Zelensky stated there was no leverage, and we're now finding out from Biden's son, Caligula, that he should have been investigated, both of them, Biden and his son, a long time ago. But that's a whole other story. Democrats fabricated Trump Russia, and any true leftist knows that. Okay, because everybody, every conservative Trump supporter knows that also. But They have no intention of ever passing either universal basic income or a Green New Deal legislation or Medicare for all. These aren't even Democratic policies. They're Green Party policies. Okay? They're Green Party policies. If there are actual socialists out there, start your own socialist party or communist or socialist party. Or they go join the Green Party. There's Democratic Socialists. Okay, Democratic Socialists of America, I believe. When I was writing for about Bernie Sanders and defending him, and I never gravitated toward the socialist part of things. Okay, neither did Bernie Sanders, by the way. If you go to a Vox interview, Ezra Klein said, "You're a socialist, right?" And he's like, "Democratic socialist." So he didn't want that label back then in 2015. That's another story. That's a whole other story. Anyway, the only way you're really going to get, if you're on the left, not that my voice counts on the left at all. I don't care. This is a really interesting topic that when I was on the left, I thought that ending perpetual wars was the most important. I still do. It's the most important issue. Opposing the Lincoln Project, to me, is the most left-leaning policy. More important than anything else. More important than anything else. Because for a whole bunch of reasons. But that's not what the left feel. That's not how they think. So supporting President Trump is, I wrote in the Federalist how you go from Bernie to Trump. And it's also primarily foreign policy. Now, if you're a Democrat and you're a progressive, or you're left-leaning person, and you say, "Oh, well, we're battling supremacy," you vote for Biden. Well, Biden wrote the crime bill, and Biden doesn't give a you-know-what about any left-leaning issue. So that's a whole other story that I don't want to get into. I find it's been so long since I've talked about this type of thing. And I realize that the left is a gigantic. They say that Trump supporters are part of a cult. We're not, and I say this with love and respect, and knowing that there's so many great people on the left. The enormity of whatever the left is a gigantic cult, and it revolves around a morality fetish. Not the pursuit of truly moral, like a true moral code. It's a fetish associated with morality that says, I'm not going to talk to you if you don't support my Medicare for all vision that actually Biden would take a giant dump on. So it's like a subgroup within a subgroup within a giant group within a portion of the Democratic Party that isn't listened to by people who make real decisions. Clinton has already been on record stating that she would never, that Medicare for all is infeasible. Biden actually stated not only does he not support it, he'd veto it, which means that if it were to pass the Senate, he would block it and make sure it never gets into existence. Do you understand what vetoing the bill means? Democrats are so against Medicare for all that they elected somebody who would veto Medicare for all. So in the theoretical world, in some fantasy world where it actually passes the House and Senate, and Democrats say, okay, here's how much your taxes are going to go up, Biden would veto it. So I don't say this with malice. I'm saying you're never in a million years going to get Medicare for all. And anyone who's telling you that eventually one day when the Messiah comes and you put their feet to the fire and all that stuff, it ain't ever going to happen. It's not going to ever happen. Conversely, you vote for President Trump, you do get a reversal of foreign policy. And if the troops are still there, that's your fault. That's the Democratic Party's fault. That's the media's fault. And that's the far left viewing Trump as an authoritarian for actually trying to remove American presence from the Middle East and signing prison reform legislations. Two things that totalitarians are not known for, but you can't. The left doesn't really have a grasp of history, so there you go. And opposing corrupt intelligence officials. So that's three things that the wonderful anti-authoritarians are fine with. The corrupt intelligence officials, the Lincoln Project, and the crime bill that Biden wrote. But that's a whole other story. Many other stories out there. My take is the following. Not that anybody asked and it's irrelevant, fine. You're never going to ever get Medicare for all. And there are the $20 million venture capital people, like they got $20 million in venture capital, okay? How do you get $20 million in venture capital? Well, you're not doing it by promoting yourself as somebody who's a thorn in the side of the Democratic Party. That's another story, like I keep saying. They're never going to... the Democratic Party and the people, like the $20 million venture capital people, who are telling you that one day in the future, one day, hold their feet to the fire, one day, it will never happen. It is a grift. They cheated Bernie Sanders for this very reason, because there are policies that they don't view it as feasible. The tax issue is a big issue. Not simply saying, well, you don't have to pay premiums. Well, that's not how they're going to sell this. Even if it were, they won't even vote for it on the floor of the House because they know it's not possible for the Democratic Party to even implement Medicare for all. They're grifting and lying. And the sad thing is it's actually an existential crisis in terms of ideology. Nobody really cares what Democrats think about anything. The only like beautiful or passionate or electric or forward thinking or truly progressive ideas are like Medicare for all and universal basic income and Green New Deal resolution. But those things will never happen through the Democratic Party because the decision makers don't make any money from that, and they would lose political power by trying to push those things. And they don't think it's feasible. And they're on record as saying they would veto all of that. And they're also on record as voting for policies like whether it's or impeachment they know isn't going to work, and a Green New Deal resolution they know isn't going to amount to anything. So they pick and choose what they want based on public relations, not based on principle. Democrats have no principle. That's why they cheated Bernie Sanders and blamed Russia for 4 years. So all you progressives and left-leaning people said, well, we don't know, maybe Trump worked with Russia. Yeah, and that led to Biden, who would veto Medicare for all. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. I know this is perhaps a treat for my left-leaning viewers who still watch me. The Democratic Party not only doesn't want Medicare for all, it doesn't even think it's feasible. Think about that for a moment. When you have the $20 million venture capital people saying we're going to hold their feet to the fire. Also, Democrats don't care about, like, if you actually really did hold any Democratic person their feet to the fire, they would like crush you, or like politically or in terms of public relations. Anybody like Tulsi Gabbard that they truly don't like, they call a Russian agent. So anyone who's a threat in any way, like really holding their feet, like let's say there was a politician within the Democratic Party that actually did everything possible to force Medicare for all, they would be a Russian agent within like 5 minutes. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. Just my 2 cents. I know people are going to say, oh my goodness, that's ridiculous. Why should you listen to H.A. Goodman? I don't care if you listen to me at all. I'm not on the left anymore, so give me your thoughts below. Thank you so very, very much. And it's actually a very good ideological debate going on. It's happening on the left right now. Give me your thoughts. Thank you.